Well, Mohsen, thank you so much for helping with my project. Could you say a little
Okay.
bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Mohsen. I'm 46 and I think a bit old for thinking about going to space, but I really want to. And as a job, I'm a traffic planner. I'm an engineer doing uh, in the you know, traffic planning and road safety. And of course, I'm also doing translations about technical measures such as road safety, road environment, and those technical things. And what else do you want to know? Maybe my hobbies or something like that. Yeah, I'm interested in reading, and uh, I think that I'm a real bookworm, and I'm so interested in hiking and going to the mountains, and I'm really interested in traveling, going to the other cities, and you know, out of the cities, especially out of the cities in the countryside and those things. Yeah, I'm of course I love movies and music, especially classical music. Yeah,
You mentioned you're 46 and you think that's a
yeah.
bit old to think about
No,
traveling to space.
people think that I'm old, but me myself not. I don't think like that.
I'm glad to hear that because I'm
Yeah.
45.
Okay.
I think life begins when you're 50.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything is just
Exactly.
practice until then.
Yeah. I'm young. Yeah.
Absolutely. But you mentioned you like to read a lot. What are the types of things you read?
Uh, everything, really everything, from science, uh, romance, uh, something related to to the space, and of course I'm interested in learning languages. So I have a lot of books about languages. So everything, really everything, you can find everything in my library.
Which languages have you studied?
Of course, first of all English, then French, and then nowadays I'm learning German, and after that I'm planning to learn Spanish and Russian.
So really, mainly European languages then.
Sorry,
Oh, mainly languages spoken in Europe.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
uh,
European languages, yeah, yeah.
so nothing like Chinese or Japanese or Hindi.
Uh, they are so interesting, but I think a bit harder than but they have a lot of alphabets like Chinese and Japanese, and it's something. They can frightening.
I wonder how much the language changes the way you see the world and the way you think about it.
uh, every I think every language means a new culture, so you can be familiar with other people, and for me it's kind of a new world. you know that's such a going to other countries, and living with the people you didn't know. you know it's very wonderful, I think.
It is, yeah, it's interesting. I've actually studied Hindi for
Ah,
about a decade or so. My wife is
yeah.
Indian and my
Oh,
in-laws live with me, so
yeah.
I have teachers around me. But
Hmm.
uh, it but Chinese, my
Yeah.
son has studied Chinese, and just
Hmm.
trying to differentiate the sounds is almost
Hmm.
impossible for me.
That's Hindi is it's I think uh, wonderful because I was in India and it's a very wonderful country. So learning Hindi it's wonderful. Yeah.
But it's not as useful as one might think because
Uh,
I work have worked with a lot of people from India,
mhm,
and I would want to practice my Hindi with them,
mhm,
and
mhm,
they would be from South India, and they're like, "You probably know more Hindi than I do."
mhm.
So,
Yeah.
uh,
Of course, I think in India they have different accent and languages. So uh, you mean uh, classical Hindi or official Hindi? I think, yeah,
yeah, official Hindi,
yeah,
but
official.
apparently, the Hindi is mainly spoken in northern India,
Hmm.
and the people in the south, who speak like Telugu or Tamil or these other languages,
Bengali, and yeah,
they really consider this to be kind of uh, some other groups' language being forced on them instead of
hmm,
uh,
yeah,
so that's it's
yeah,
kind of interesting.
yeah.
Do you think, talking about languages, so India is kind of facing this problem in the sense, how do you create one country where all the citizens feel like they kind of have an origin, but also feel very distinct from each other?
Hmm.
Um, in Europe, it's creating the European Union, and that's had mixed success. The UK uh, decided they wanted to go a separate direction,
Hmm.
but this idea of humanity and the internet has allowed people to talk all over the world with each other.
Yeah.
I've gotten to talk to people in you know uh, Chile, in India, in Pakistan, in Egypt, and a whole bunch of other countries. Uh,
Hmm.
and as we talk to each other and we try to understand and we trade and we interact, it seems like it will eventually cause a lot of things to merge,
Hmm.
and that
Yeah.
we'll have kind of one global language
Yeah.
and kind of way of doing things. And I was
Yeah.
wondering, do you think that's true that
Yeah. In fact, I think that uh, we are all the same nations. You know, uh, for example, you are from the United States, I think, yeah.
Mhm.
So now we are talking. You getting something to me, I getting something to you. You know, some information, some everything. When we trade, of course. Besides the trade, we exchange our culture, we exchange our language, some common language, some common words in our languages. It's I think all of the people around the world have the same origins. So it's okay. We can have uh, it's the idea of a United Nations. Of I think it's the main idea of the United Nations.
But I think the United Nations actually, in some ways, may be more of an impediment to it
Mhm,
because it's just the very concept of nation means borders, means separation,
mhm,
means you're part of my nation or you're not part of my nation.
mhm,
Uh, and so when you have the United Nations who's made up of these groups,
mhm,
it seems to strengthen the whole notion of having the groups, which seems to
mhm,
be the very impediment to
mhm,
kind of creating a more connected world.
mhm. Exactly, but I think the main idea is that the different groups can sit in a same assembly and speak together and stay in a peace condition. Not now, but of course. Everyone knows that the current situation in the world it's something else. But the main idea, I think, it was that uh, all of the countries over the world uh, live in peace and just speaking in a common language.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. Um, and I guess I kind of thinking about humanity progressing into the future.
Hmm.
Um, 50 years ago, we had the first humans land on the moon in
Yeah,
1969,
yeah. Hmm.
and we had the last time humans were on the moon was 1972,
Hmm.
and we're having humans go back to the moon in 2024.
Hmm.
And I was wondering if this is something that you had been aware of for a while. Like, when did you learn about this?
Uh, about 1969, you mean, or 2024?
2024.
Okay. Uh, you know, uh, I read about it, in the media that there is a project. The name is Artemis, and it's the project that aims to land humanity on the moon on 2024. And uh, in this travel, the first woman will land on the moon, and the first person in color also land on the moon. So I think it's amazing. Just in three years, just in 3 years, you can see the pictures from moon again, perhaps live pictures from moon, and walking people, walking people on the moon, like Louis Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and you know, and again, it can, I think it can be something like a gateway to the other worlds, to Mars, to other planets, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I think developing that vision of it being a stepping stone, that
Hmm.
humanity is meant to expand throughout the solar system,
Hmm. Hmm.
is so critical to get in people's mind, because if we keep saying that it's going to be the first woman and the first person of color, then in
Hmm.
people's mind that will become the goal. And once you have that first landing, they'll wonder why you're having a second landing, because you already met that goal.
Sorry, I lost your voice. Can you
Oh,
repeat?
yes. Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it's okay.
We have to be careful how we kind of uh, you know make people think about what is the purpose of it.
Hmm.
Um, it's very easy for us to say that's going to be the first woman and first person of color, but
Hmm.
for some people, they hear that and they think that's the goal. And once you've like had that first landing, you've met that goal. And so then they'll wonder, why do you have a second or a third or a fourth landing? Like, how do you create the vision of continuously going back and developing the moon?
My vision, you mean?
I Yes, exactly.
I think every landing can develop our science, our knowledge about the environment. So uh, they can prepare the kind of station, a kind of permanent place for people who can live there, and use that station to go more, to go to other destinations. It's very important. You have ISS in the Earth's orbit. It's kind of a station to the, for example, to the moon, or to Mars, or for our for our research about the environment out of the Earth. You know, so for the moon, I think it's the same. We need more landing there to find out more about the moon.
And if you had an opportunity to go into space, would
Hmm.
you?
Of course, 100% I do. Yeah.
How far would you go? Just to Earth orbit, or would you go take a trip to the moon and back, or would you see yourself actually immigrating to a new city on Mars?
The third one on Mars.
You would go to Mars?
Yeah, yeah. If I have the opportunity, I choose the Mars. Yeah.
I think within the next 10 years you might. What SpaceX is doing with the Starship and their plans
Yeah.
uh, might radically change things.
Yeah. I think I think the Mars is it's um, in my opinion it's very strange. It's a really a new world. So it's really uh, make me excited. Even when we watch the movies about the Mars, it really makes me excited. Yeah.
Have you been watching the Mars rover, the Perseverance rover?
Of course, yeah, yeah. It's kind of it's the age of technology, I think.
It's amazing looking
Yeah,
at that Ingenuity helicopter
yeah,
and what
yeah,
they've been able
exactly.
to do with it.
With that with the atmosphere on Mars, it's very it's very wonderful that kind of helicopter can fly in that atmosphere. Yeah.
I imagine that at some point in the future, maybe
Hmm.
we'll land something on Mars with like
Hmm.
dozens or even hundreds of these little
Yeah,
helicopters.
yeah, of course.
And how much ground could you cover? You could go to peaks and look on the side of mountains and go into valleys and
Yeah, of course.
have them.
It's my if I can go there, it's a very good environment for me to about the mountains and valleys that I can go hiking there if the technology allows that. But I'm
But
really fond of that.
would you like to go hiking though in a spacesuit?
Of course.
But what do you think that would be like having to wear a suit every time that you went outside? Because most people, I know, like I like to go hiking to get outside and experience the weather
Hmm.
and everything.
Yeah, I think it's something like uh, 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 floating in something, floating in nothing. It's very strange.
It is. Um, let's see. In 500 years, if you look at backwards, you
Hmm.
have Christopher Columbus coming from Europe to
Hmm.
North America.
Hmm.
And so much has changed since then. You've had the Industrial Revolution. We've learned how to fly. We've learned how to put things in orbit. Electricity has happened.
Yeah.
So much has happened. I mean, and we've essentially conquered the surface of the globe. Um,
Hmm.
we haven't. There's still lots of ocean that we can still
Hmm.
develop. So if you look forward 500 years,
Hmm.
how far do you think we've gotten? Do you think we have people living on the moon, living on Mars, living on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, these huge space structures? Maybe we're sending generation ships to other stars.
Hmm.
What do you think?
I think the trend of technology, the trend of progress in technology is very speedy and increasing. So I think in the next 50 years we can reach those that you said. But in 500 years, no one knows. As in 500 years ago, no one can predict that we can reach this level of living and technology. It's impossible that I cannot predict about 500 years later. It's crazy. I think we cannot predict. But 50 years later, yeah, perhaps people can live on Mars and even on the moons of Saturn or Jupiter, perhaps, and maybe going farther. Who knows?
We have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. Is this
Exactly. Yeah.
you've heard of this too? Um, I think
Yeah.
as our
Yeah.
technology develops more and more here on Earth, we become more
Hmm.
comfortable and we need less, so
Hmm.
we invent less.
Hmm.
But by being
Hmm.
in the moon and the Mars and these other places, suddenly our needs completely change. And so we'll have to
Hmm.
invent things to fit, to be able to meet those needs. And so it
Hmm.
may be the case that it's not invention that allows for exploration, but I think it's the
Hmm.
case that exploration causes the need for invention. And I was wondering what you
Hmm.
thought.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But I have also you're right. But I want to add something else that people, human knows no limits. Human uh, humanity wants to break all of the limits. So going to the space, to the other planets, it's a kind of limit that until now no one can land on the other planets. So it's a limit that people have to and must to break. So it's, I think, uh, uh, we will break it in the next 50 years. Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate your time. And
Hmm.
I know we covered a lot of different areas. Is
Hmm.
there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to?
Yes, I want to, you know, as it is about traveling to moon, a trip to moon. I want to show you my first science fiction book that I've read at when I was at 10, and it's the same title, A Trip to Moon, from Jules Verne. So I have it here.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure that you heard about it, or you know the writer.
I do. I do. I
Yeah,
haven't read
yeah,
it though. I
yeah.
need to read it.
It's it's the first science fiction novel that I read about the space, and but after that I was so interested in a space, in science fiction, and I read all of the books of Isaac Asimov, the movies from Odyssey 2001 from Stanley Kubrick, and uh, the other movies, even now, the Interstellar, Martians, and all of the things. Yeah, but the beginning point was this book.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's Jules Verne wrote before we even can fly,
Mhm. Yeah,
and he's
yeah, of
already
course.
envisioned going to the moon and
Yeah,
back. And
yeah,
it's really neat. I sometimes I
uh,
think our imaginations become
yeah,
less since then.
yeah. And something else that the route that he said in this book, the route uh, for the spacecraft was exactly the same as for the Dear Moon project,
Hmm.
just going to the orbit of Moon, circling and coming back to the Earth.
Maybe it'd be good training material for the
Yeah,
people
yeah,
going.
yeah. exactly.
Um, there's a more recent book that's come out called The Three Body Problem. I was
Mhm.
wondering if you had heard of that book.
Uh, what was the name?
Three Bodied Problem.
Tree Body?
Uh-huh.
No, I didn't.
It's a
Sorry.
Chinese book, actually, but it's been
Mhm,
translated into English and other
mhm.
languages as well. Um,
Not in Persian, but
may,
if it is in English, I try to find it. Okay.
yeah, I listened to it in
Mhm,
English,
mhm,
so that's how I read it. But it
mhm,
is written by a Chinese author, and
mhm,
it's just neat seeing kind of the imagination and
mhm.
how the Chinese are kind of seeing the the world. I was wondering, since you brought it up, um, are there any science fiction authors writing in Persian?
Uh, I don't know, and I can say that if there is, I don't know him or her. I don't know really.
Uh, maybe you could be the first.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Maybe I can write about my experience, uh, my first experience, of course, in from my trip to moon, and after that the second to Mars.
Indeed. And you could say which one was easier or harder.
Yeah. Of course, if I I come back from Mars.
Maybe a travel book, How to Survive Mars
Yeah,
on $10 a day or something.
yeah, yeah,
Well, it was such a pleasure to meet you, and thank you so much for
yeah.
your
Of
time.
course, it was my pleasure. Yeah,
And I hope you have a good rest of your evening.
thank you,
Okay.
and I hope you have a good day and good luck.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.